Hi, everyone. I hope you got a good chance to take a stretch, take a break. I know that was a long run we just watched, but we have some great runs coming up right after this intermission. We have apparently the world record holder going to be performing the next run. Very excited. Love to see that. You are here watching the English restream of RTA in Japan for summer 2025, and as you just saw, we are here supporting MSF, also known as Doctors Without Borders. And for this next run, we have two great people on commentary joining us. If you two would like to introduce yourself.
Hello, I am GhostKumo. I am the, de facto figurehead of the East speedrunning community, and joining me is going to be my good friend here, Bramhall.
Hello, I'm bramhallthefifth. I've played some East games before.
Indeed.
This is the first one in the series. I know this one.
Well, very happy to have you here. How long have you been speedrunning this game?
So I actually learned this game in 2019, I believe. It was either 2018 or 2019. Effectively, there was kind of some interest in learning the whole series, so you kind of have to start somewhere.
I've only run the Master System version of this game, but more or less the same run, right?
No, actually, because this one actually plays a video game.
Yeah.
For context, the East 1 Master System version is infamous because you start the game without, there's no cutscene at the start of the game, so you just get dropped in and you start the game in the first town. And there's a credits warp that you can perform by going to the shop, buying an item that you're not supposed to, and then just wrong warping to the credits in 21 seconds.
Yeah. So this
Not
is
gonna be doing that today.
Yeah, this is not the Master System version. This is a remake of a remake of a remake of a remake of sorts.
Yes, East 1 is famous for having a ton of versions, but this is the remake made in 2009, originally for like PC and PlayStation Portable. But yeah, this is going to be the any percent category. It's going to be done on the easy difficulty. Although it is on the easy difficulty, it is not quite an easy run because of just the way that this game is done. It minimizes the amount of stuff that you need. And Xipha, our runner, I'm going to call him Xipha because that is how they spell the item from the Trails series, and how they pronounce it. So I assume that's how the name should be pronounced. Joining him will be Rihabiri. Both of them have been pretty high-level East runners. In fact, East 1, Chronicles, for many years the record was held by a runner by the name of Korzik, who paved the way for a lot of the strats that you'll be seeing here. Just kind of been like the champion of the early East 1 and 2. But Xipha has been just absolutely going ham on this game and took the record relatively recently. So he brought it down to a 37:01, which is just like a ridiculous time for this game. So we are very nearly at sub 37, which is an incredible time. Like the record of 37:24 was held for 4 years, and that was after it had finally been relatively challenged for the first time in a long time.
It does look like the only donation incentive they had was music. I think they went with PC88. I think they went with PC88. I didn't quite see.
We shall hear.
Well, yeah, we'll hear it.
Yeah, there are 3 soundtracks to this game. The PC88 version was recorded, or was all the music in this game was composed by, but this version, the PC88 version, was also recorded by the iconic Yuzo Koshiro, the composer of many games, most notably the Etrian Odyssey series and the Streets of Rage series. He was like 18 when he joined this company, and I think he was like 19 when he composed this game. Like, very, very precocious.
Yeah. This is an intro section that I think was added, and the 97 PC port called East One Eternal. It kind of retconned that the Adult got shipwrecked at the beginning.
Yeah, there's originally you start in the town here, the town north of here. So this is just kind of the way to get the game a little bit of setup. But yeah, a red-haired protagonist here. This guy by the name of Adol Kristen. He is the protagonist of the entire series. And yeah, he's going to be setting off on his adventure, but he has nothing. So this game is from 1987. Action RPGs in Japan were like a fairly new genre at the time, such that during this era, there were a lot of games that didn't even have a proper attack button, East 1 being one of them. The way this game deals with that is that you're supposed to run into enemies. We affectionately refer to it as the bumper car simulator as a result. You need to run into enemies at an angle off-center of the enemy's hitbox, and that is how you can hit them without taking damage yourself.
First thing made a little easier, and new versions of the game is made a little easier because you can move diagonally.
So first thing he's going to do is set the wing to the item that you use when you press the item button, because the first thing he's going to do is go to do a clip here to get out of bounds. You got to kind of align it in a very particular way with the keyboard. If he's glowing white, that's how you can tell that it's been done successfully. So you clip out of bounds, and he can run over to this loading zone that would otherwise be kind of a pain to get to. And at this lake is going to be this, it's got a pot. He's doing a save here.
I know a lot of translations call this item something different. This looks like a vase.
Yeah, the gold vase. Okay.
I think in others it's the gold pedestal.
Yeah, so he's gonna go to buy another wing. There's a whole side quest for what he's doing with this, where he's selling, like he's picking up the vase and then he's selling it.
Yeah, it's a hefty amount of money for this early on.
Yep. Next up is the item shop, which he's going to buy a short sword, and then he's going to go buy, I think, one piece of armor. Admittedly, it's been a couple years since I've run this game, so I'm like trying to remember the exact sequence of things. But yeah, he's buying some armor just because you really need armor.
Well, I don't think they don't let you leave the town, or they don't give you the quest item you need unless you have a full set of gear. This woman here.
Yeah. So this is you need this.
Yeah, you need that to progress, but you need to buy like a shield and a armor and a sword. Or if you want to give it to you.
This is kind of accepting the grand quest. So now we're off to the town to the northeast, a town by the name of Xipha.
This series is pretty infamous for outrageous sequence breaks and other glitches. I think aside from that little zip that we saw earlier, there isn't a lot of that here. This is mostly playing the game through intended means, although there is going to be a detour to do something that's out of order, but there's nothing actually. It's not a sequence break. You're not like bypassing a block or anything.
Yeah, East 1 is a very dense game. Like the level cap in this game is 10 to give you an idea, and you hit that before you even enter the final dungeon in most speedruns. Getting on the next set of the quest, and he's going for what is called level 1 Genokris, which is an extremely difficult strat. Like what this boss fight that he's about to do is going to be the hardest thing that he's going to do in this entire run.
Yeah, this game does let you save anywhere, so there's that as a fail-safe. Just play the game good. There's not a huge opportunity cost to it because then you can reload the save.
Yeah, so if he takes like 2 hits from those fires, he's done for. This is a extremely advanced level strat.
He seems to be taking about like 1 hit point of damage every time he gets touched.
Yeah, so you can do this. There are 3 ways to do this. The first is level 4, which involves doing an entire side quest to get EXP. A lot of runners will do this for marathon safety, but Xipha is just really darn good. There's level 2, which is difficult. It's like the advanced tech that most runners. It's the gatekeeper between like the good runners and the great runners is doing this lower than level 4. And then doing it at level 1 is like a 5 or 10 second time save, but it is so incredibly risky because, as you can see, he's already taken several hits. So I know Xipha was so stressed about this particular part of the run.
How do you get level 2 exactly?
Just kill things.
Okay, I thought that for some reason I thought that first quest with, where Sarah gives you the crystal, I thought that leveled you up.
Nope.
Just gives you a small amount of experience.
You have to like actually finish quests before that counts. Doing that level 1 in a marathon first try, like
pretty good.
I have to clap for that. That was so impressive. All right, so now we're on into the dungeon here. You see him hitting the enemies off center, and that's how he knocks them out. Down here in the second part of this dungeon, he's going to save this woman, this mysterious woman by the name of Fina. She is in the, she's locked away in this area. He's also going to pick up a key. And the thing about Fina is when you accept her quest, that does give you EXP. But if you're mashing fast enough, you can actually double or even triple the amount of EXP that she gives you.
Fina, back in the Turbo CD version of this game, which was one of the it was a really early game with voice acting. Fina was voiced by, I think, Debbie Derryberry, also Jimmy Neutron,
and the original Gash Bell. This game had a PC Engine release that had like an incredibly stacked voice cast of like some of the most like professional voice actors from that era. It was it's actually like it was way ahead of its time.
I guess they blew all their budget on it because East 3 is not quite as well remembered in that regard for the PC Engine.
So this item that you just picked up is the Mask of Eyes. You need it to find a couple of hidden things in the game, but it makes everything else invisible. So like you don't really want to you don't really want to have it on more than necessary. So
later versions of this game did put an escort mission here. Normally in like the old PC-88 or Master System version, she's just waiting for you outside the shrine.
Yeah, so a lot of this part is just guiding her because her AI can be a little janky, but thankfully it's like there is a little bit of tech to just knowing how to move around in such a way that she doesn't get lost.
I think she's allowed to be just off the screen when you leave.
Yes.
Other than that, you have to kind of make sure that you don't just run off.
少しでも早くクリアするために
Yeah, like again, this game predate the original of East 1 predates the original Final Fantasy. Like that is how early of an RPG it is. So it's a relatively simple game in and of itself. Like if you play this game casually, you'll probably be able to beat it on like normal in about 6 hours. It can be a little cryptic to find where to go, but it's a very, very dense game.
Yeah,
most notably, the final dungeon is pretty much the entire second half of the game.
Yeah,
I think it was originally stored on 2 floppies, and the second one was just the final dungeon.
Yeah, East 1 and 2 were kind of, I believe, made relatively in tandem in their plans, so they usually are bundled together in releases post 1989, basically. But now
East 2 takes place minutes after the first one ends.
Doing another out of bounds trick there, and once you kind of get into the water, you can just hold down, make your way down the river, and that saves a little bit of time getting over to the abandoned mine. He is nowhere near strong enough to deal with the abandoned mine yet, but there are some valuable pieces of equipment that you can get here, which would make the game considerably more palatable.
Yeah, so this is what I was referring to earlier when I said you're going to be doing stuff out of order, because like there's nothing really stopping you other than fear of death from going in here this early on, but if you know the layout of the dungeon and are just ready to anticipate having to juke the enemies, And yeah, you know where the chests are. These are like the second to last tier of equipment in the game.
So this is the silver harmonica. This is just needed to advance the story state. There are 3 items that you need to get in here.
Making it say very smart. I didn't notice him doing that earlier. Oh yeah, because this place is like
these enemies are so rude, and yeah, they just one tap him because he just doesn't have like the equipment.
Oh,
you're anticipated to go in here. Actually, you're anticipated to go in here at like 6 or 7, I think. And he's only 5, and he has no armor.
So they're just doing a sort of little trick that you can do where you activate an item and it buffers a little bit before you open a treasure chest. So like you get the item in the chest and use the wing at the same time, and that saves you from the do like sound fanfare. Saves you a couple seconds.
Call, you really want to make sure you time that correctly because you don't want to accidentally walk before getting the item.
Yes. Fun little note. You might notice that the little jingle that plays when you get an item is very similar to the one in Metroid. The jingle in the original Metroid is different, and the kind of funny thing is that like Yuzo Koshiro played the original Metroid and said, "Dang, that's a very good jingle. I'm gonna make something very similar," and then he did, and then they've used basically very similar jingles for 38 years, and it's not really been a problem. The original one in Metroid sounds fairly different, but then the one in Super Metroid sounds closer to the one in East 1. They're not quite the same melody, but it is kind of a funny little thing. I was going to do the zip one more time, or the out of bounds trick here one more time.
How does this work exactly?
You just get on like kind of the seam, you get out of bounds, and then when you push down, you don't hit the load zone. I don't exactly know the like super specifics of it, but it is to do with how you transition to the next screen and then end up on a pixel that's like not where you're supposed to be. So he's getting the silver sword and he's got the better armor. The silver sword is absolutely required to beat the game. The final boss is only vulnerable to silver. Silver in this game is actually a resource. They were later retconned in later games into a metal referred to as Clearia, but they still keep the item's name as silver, and it's the only way to defeat the final boss of this game.
ベッドの上からスタートしていたのかというところも含めての説明なんですが
There we find that Fina has gone with old lady Jebba.
They make you get the silver sword before you go to the final dungeon, right? I mean, they take it away from you.
Yes. It's also just a good weapon to have right now. So, like, the reason you go into the...
You're not supposed to have it now, but it'll make the next boss last about 2 seconds.
Yes. It makes the game considerably more friendly to have the silver sword right now. The reason he went into the abandoned mine to get, like, he got an item called the Rhoda fruit, which you give to the Rhoda tree, and then it spits out the silver sword for you. Amusing that giant tree giving you sword is a thing with this game, and that predates... that's one thing East predated Zelda on.
So, the abandoned mine does have story progression inside, but there's a key to the door with the boss inside, and that key, I think... That might be what he just picked up, right? No, it's not. Oh, it is? Okay.
No. I forget what all the keys do. We just kind of memorize like what rooms to go into. He did get an item that lets him use these statues to warp, though. That is one important thing he did pick up.
Okay, yeah, so I think there's a key to open the chest, and the chest has a key to open a different door. But the chest key is in here. So you have to go in here before you go into the mines for story progression. But he went to the mines anyway to get the good gear. Correct. I think I have that right. There isn't really a lot of like concise logic as to where the items are placed, other than you have to go here before you go there.
So turn on the Mask of Eyes just to be able to see the invisible entrance. You can't get through that wall if you don't turn it on. It isn't one of those things that like the item is always invisible. No, you have to actually be able to see it to know that you can get through there. So I think this is the boss room key. There's like keys for opening chests, or there's like keys for opening certain things, and one of the things is boss doors.
Oh yeah, this is the two. This boss door takes 2 keys. I think. That might have been
Anyways,
the second
time
one.
for a boss that is quite infamous in the speedrun community for being quote-unquote literally free, and he is not saving. I really hope
no
it does.
save. Very brave.
Okay, so this boss is quote-unquote literally free. As you can see, you can 2-tap it, and he can only do 1 damage to you. There is one possible way to lose that fight, and that is that you inadvertently get into his face, knocked into a corner, unable to recover, and he can corner lock you and kill you. This has happened. I have seen it happen. I have seen it happen twice. One of them I didn't actually see it happen, but it was a runner was practicing this game at RPG Limit Break 2022, and the other runner who it happened to be watching and let out the most thunderous cackle I have ever heard, finally being relieved of the fact that he was no longer the only person who got corner locked by that boss and like slowly, slowly nibbed to death.
I blame PC ports in general. So yeah, now you go to the abandoned mine for real, I think.
Yeah, we find out that the priestess Sarah has been murdered. Our next quest, I don't know if they give you this quest just yet, but like our main quest and where we're gonna end the games, we need to find the 6 books of Ys and read all of them. So now we're in the abandoned mine.
One of them was just behind the caterpillar. And there's gonna be another one in this next room.
So here he's picking up EXP wherever he can get it at this point.
It's at this point I think we want to max our level here.
That's the marathon safe strategy. You can be a little bit more daring. I'm not entirely sure what Xipha is going to end up doing.
What I remember from when I played this is that the next boss basically takes garbage damage unless you're level 10, and you can only really hit him once at a time. So just the more hits it takes, the more setback you are. But if it is possible to do this at level 8 or 9, then I'm prepared to stay corrected. He's level 8 now.
Something that's worth noting is that if you hit an enemy from behind, it doesn't matter if you get an enemy from behind, it doesn't matter if you like hit him off center or not.
Right. So the reason you want to hit them off center is so they don't hit you back.
Yep.
And they can't hit you back if they're not facing you.
Yeah, so you can align yourself on this this little direct path up and down, and the enemies will continually spawn. As long as you've taken them both out, they'll respawn in such a way that you can just keep running up and down, and you don't get hit very often. He picked up a potion earlier that's sort of a backup strat for if you get hit. And he got hit a whole bunch, so here he's just going to grind himself up to level 10.
Armor, so the hits aren't going to be all that painful on their own, but obviously they can add up pretty quickly, especially considering that the iframes in this game are not lenient at all.
Yeah, so here he's getting 480 experience per kill. So you need to like max out at like, I think it's 65,000 EXP. I might be mistaken.
They give fixed experience, right?
Yes, they give a fixed amount of EXP no matter what level you are.
There's a lot of different versions of this game. Some of them have different level curves. The PC Engine version in particular has a scaling effect where if you're a higher level, you get less experience.
Yeah, and I think there's some versions they raised the level cap, but like the amount of stats you get as a result is different because there are some versions of this game that directly they directly tie your East 1 stats into an East 2 playthrough. This version of the game, they are two separate games, so it's kind of like if you've ever played Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy on the Game Boy Advance had like the cartridge of both Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 2. Same with the PlayStation 1 version. But in this case, they're like, you buy the two games separately, but they, or you buy the two games, like, you can buy the two games in, like, a bundle. They just come into two different EXEs. Alright, so now he's hit level 10.
You picked up level 10 on the way from the grind spot to the boss door. So that's probably the efficient way to go about it.
Yeah, so this boss is Vogolian. He really sucks.
Yeah,
and I'm not just saying that because he's a vampire.
This is kind of where the game concentrates all the RNG into one spot here. So this guy's gonna turn to about he's gonna turn to a bunch of bats, and occasionally he will either reform and become tangible again, or he'll threaten to reform and fake you out. On this version, there's a pretty clear visual tell which one you're gonna get. There's like a red ribbon that starts showing up. So you can prepare, and then you can basically just get one hit at a time. And this is, the main reason why you want to be as strong as possible. And it is actually worth it to grind to max level here.
Yeah, I've heard of some bold strats where you go into the final dungeon without being max level, but not a lot of runners do it. And he's getting very unlucky with the with whether or not the boss is doing the like coalesce or like the actual make his hitbox vulnerable. Yeah, let's just say East 1 was a very old game before the idea of like consistent boss game design was common in games.
Right. We know. I think. I might be thinking of the PCN version. From what I remember, I think it's 7 or so seconds. He can try to reform, and it could be a fake out up to 3 times. But I don't know if that carries over to this version. So for full disclosure, the versions of this game that I've actually played, I played the Master System version, I played the PC Engine version, and I played the PS2 version, which is part of the same chain of remakes that eventually resulted in this one, which is the most recent one. I haven't actually played Chronicles, but I'm kind of familiar with this. From having played the PS2 version, I'm kind of familiar with how the mechanics of this engine work.
Yeah, there was also in 2001 the East 1 and 2 Complete Collection, which this game has both the art and soundtrack from that particular version in it. So it's kind of like a double remake in some ways. So here we talk to Fina, and she says something like she knows there's something she has to do, but she doesn't exactly know what, like something special about her. Like that gets into the story of East 2, where you find out that Ria and the girl that we gave the harmonica, or Fina and the girl that we gave the harmonica to earlier, Ria, those two are the goddesses on the cover of the game, and they give Adol a bunch more help in the sequel. Yeah, so returning to the loading zone at the top after speaking to Fina, now she's going to go back to Xipha, and you have to kind of you have to do a bunch of like very specific like plot triggers here in order to advance the game to get into the final dungeon, which is the next thing that he's going to do. This is going to be the point at which we get to the final dungeon, and once you enter the final dungeon, you are stuck there. You cannot exit. I think there's like 1 or 2 versions where you can like backtrack or something, but by and large, it's like the final dungeon of this game is like one massive set piece that takes up much of the rest of the game.
I think if you have any warp items, they actually won't let you in.
And yeah, so you would not be able to take them. So this is Dharm Tower. It is a 25-floor mammoth of a dungeon. Something to note is he's going to go out into these passages outside, and it might seem a little arbitrary which direction he goes. They're supposed to loop around, but it does save like a very small amount of time if you pick like the slightly faster option every time you go through. Picking up a potion here. I imagine that's just for
evil ring. I believe that's the evil ring is the item. I believe that instantly kills you.
Yeah, you need the evil ring, and you need something that dispels the it basically really quickly drains your health, and you can't take it off. So it doesn't instantly kill you, but if you put it on and you don't have the thing that cures it, you're just helpless, and you watch yourself quickly die. Anyway, the music here is an absolute banger. As somebody who has 1,000 hours speedrunning East Origin, which has a remix of this particular theme, and as somebody who's put in like 100 hours into speedrunning this game, I never get tired of this dungeon theme.
Pretty good one. I think in this version they split up the tower to have different soundtracks at different points. Originally, this is the only track in the Darm Tower.
Yeah, there's
Tower of the Shadow of Death.
the final, like, I think 10 floors have their own theme. But yeah, this theme is known as Tower of the Shadow of Death. You'll hear it all over. It has a remix in one of the versions of East 4. If you play the jukebox in Trails to Azure, and I think one of the other Cold Steel games has a jukebox that also has, like, they did a jazz kind of remix of this track.
Anyways, for Colin to show up.
So we get stuck in like a warp hole that sends us to the prison in the basement, but the son of, that's not the son, but like one of the bandits who works for the guy who let us in here breaks us out, and that's Dogi. He might seem like an inconsequential character, but he basically becomes Adel's best bud and joins him for the rest of the franchise. He's also famously known as Dogi the Wall Crusher because he breaks walls. That's like his thing.
I don't believe he's seen again in this game.
No.
You see him at the very end of East 2, I think. But past that, you'll see him in the future games.
Yes, this is Raba. He takes up a ton of time. I think you save like, I want to say like 10 seconds playing in Japanese over English in just the amount of text that he has to give you because of his lore dump.
What item did he give us again?
I think he gives us one of the books. It's weird. There's so many things here, and I have like the inputs memorized, but I also haven't played this game in 3 years, so like forgive me if I don't remember exactly what everyone gives you.
I think it's a blue necklace. I think it's a blue necklace, but I don't remember what that does.
I don't think. Did he give you the blue necklace? I thought that was Ludogema. But the blue necklace is that you're referring to.
Oh, that probably just deactivates that trap.
Oh yeah, that's the pendant. That's what disables the warp. The blue necklace is something we get later that you need in order to get through a particular.
If you forget to
room.
put that on, you'll get sent back to the jail and Dogi's let you out again.
Yep.
I think they patch up the hole and just makes a new one. Ooh, that's scary.
Yeah, so all of your items have been taken away, so you need to get them again. The silver sword is by far the most important. Like, you cannot beat the game unless you get that.
Yeah, you don't need... do you get any other items? I think you just get the sword.
Every runner does this differently, so I'd have to see. Sometimes runners will grab the flame shield or the flame armor.
Because this is
also can get the flame sword. Anyways, this boss stinks. This is Pictomos. No, he's easy. You wait for his three size, hit him on the side, and then you're good. You can take his attacks do a lot of damage, but you just need to you can get him in a set pattern and beat him up. The next boss is probably the most infamously what in the hell were they thinking kind of boss.
Yeah.
Here's one of the books of Ys, and then this is the hammer, which I'll explain when we get to the screen that's on.
Yeah, so the way they kind of design bosses in this game around the fact that you hurt things by touching them is the boss will generally not do contact damage, but they will act very evasive and they will put a lot of projectiles on the screen. So, for example, the Janokris, the first boss, would warp around the screen everywhere, and he had these flame pillars that would do the damage for him. So the challenge was stay out of the way of the projectiles and try to hunt down the boss. And there's some mixed results to this. Chronicles is a pretty good example of it. The Goulion is a little more on the annoying side because the hazard is the actual bats, and then he doesn't show up until like every 7 seconds or so. And then there's the next boss coming up, which is just completely kind of throws that philosophy in the trash.
Yeah, so the room that he's in, a bunch of like evil music is being piped through, so he's gotta like actually, he had to break a pillar that was like sending the awful music through. That's what the hammer's for.
Yeah, so you're supposed to go in there, and I think you're supposed to go in there and like you're supposed to talk to an NPC that tells you what to do. But if you know what to do already, you can just do it.
Yeah. So here were the rooms of mirrors, and one of my favorite themes in the game here plays, just called Dreamin'. I recommend it. So this is Konstklard, is a giant rock guy. The strat is, I kid you not, just get into the center and just run in a circle and just out damage him. Thankfully on easy, there's a lot more leeway, but on like higher difficulties, it's kind of a crapshoot. So here we get the rod, and the rod is what you need to actually get through the room of mirrors. Each mirror is set to like teleport you.
And there's another Book of East back there.
Yeah, so we need all 6. We've already read the first 3. At some point, we're going to need to pick up a monocle that lets us actually, like, read the final 3 books of East, because, yeah, we're not going to be able to talk to Xipha to have her read them for us. Yeah, thankfully he's got the route through this area memorized.
Yeah, that one's tricky because there's a mirror that warps you directly in front of another mirror, and it looks like, oh, I just came out of that mirror, but that's actually the way to go forwards. So you have to go back into the mirror that it looks like you just came out of.
Yeah, that's a thing that throws off a lot of people when they try to get through that maze their first time. Something I will say is, like, the funny thing is, East is a series that is notable for its difficulty, but when they made this game with love. They've explicitly said that East 1 was meant to be a more player-friendly RPG than its contemporaries, to just give you an idea of how ridiculous these games could be at their time. Anyways, he's got the he's got the thing that dispels curses, so that he could put on the ring, and that's what lets you open the door here, making very sure with what he's doing here. He's equipped the monocle and reads the 2 books, and then switches over to the mirror, just so he doesn't have to look at that sepia filter the entire time. Some people will just leave the thing on for a while. You want the mirror for, I'll just call it the hallway of death. Coming up here, there's a very long one ADOL width corridor that is just full of enemies, and it will just absolutely shred your health bar. The mirror is an item that you picked up at the very, very beginning of the game, and just now is going to use. It has 3 uses. It famously breaks the game on the East 1 Sega Master System version. But when you actually use it, it freezes all enemies in place. It does not work against bosses for obvious reasons, but it does. It does make enemies not hurt you to run into for a brief period, so it's incredibly useful for this particular hallway.
It does look like he is not going to pick up the silver armor. So I think that's what you're intended to do to get through there.
Yeah, usually getting really good at this game consists of like figuring out the points at which you can actually cut out having to do certain things.
I think it's the part where you have to backtrack halfway down the tower and talk to Ludogema.
Yeah.
This is one that gets everybody.
Yeah, everybody has had the point where they try to make progress and then they can't, like, you can get all the way to, like, the door of the final boss, but you can't actually get there until you get the blue amulet is what it's called in this version.
I don't think there's a real way that you're told in the game that you have to go talk to Luda Jim on the 10th floor or whatever.
I think there's like a thing that hints at it, but it's like that hint is also fairly out of the way. He's not wanting to deal with this enemy here.
Yeah, there's no reason to fight enemies pretty much anywhere in this dungeon since you're pretty much always going to be max level by the time you get in here.
Yeah, the main reason is that they're in the way. But yeah, East 1 is just very much a run of like learning everything you need to do and optimizing your movement. Actually, something that kind of impresses me that I've been seeing here is Xipha is using like analog stick for more precise like angles for moving diagonally, which is like about the only optimization really left. A lot of runners will just run this game with a D-pad. It's like, yeah, you do save like fractions of a second every time you do that instead of using a D-pad, which...
Is there 360 movement in here, or is it just turning more optimally?
There is 360 movement with the joystick, but... Yeah. Most runners would just prefer the precision of the D-pad, especially for the sake of combat, since it's a lot harder to actually fight things. Okay, so that's what he's got the health potion for. So here he's using the mirror to just absolutely freeze the enemies and leave them fascinated.
オリジナル版だったり、クロニクルズ版だったり、ね、新しい方
I'm a big fan of the PC88 version of Tower of the Shadow of Death, personally.
非常に良かったりするんで、そちらもぜひ聞いて
Yeah,
ほし
the
い。
music that plays here is not quite as good. It's fun. It gives you, it elevates the sense of urgency by being a bit more up tempo, but also just that like hype feeling like we're going towards the end of the game here. Although this tower is 25 floors, the final 5, I believe, are just like all back to back to back.
A PC88 version of the final, I'm gonna like just talk about another game for a second. Of the final boss of East 2, Termination, is one that I really enjoy. I think it was really impressive for the time.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff you could do. Like, a lot of this stuff was, you could argue, ahead of its time. So here he's picking up the flame sword. He's gonna have to switch back to the silver sword for the final boss, but it does give, it isn't super far out of the way, and it gives an additional 15 strength to deal with.
Flame sword is stronger, but the final boss will not take damage from anything except the silver sword.
Yeah, so this next, there is one more boss before him. The boss, this is 2 rotating heads by the name of Yoglix and Omegan. We just sometimes call it yogurt and omelet because it's like the name that's easier to remember. So he's got these 2 rotating heads, but what you, oh wow, got absolutely shredded. So you want to get a couple hits, and then when the 2 heads coalesce, you actually press the walk button, and then you just kind of like walk in a circle, and your hitbox just overlaps with both heads like a ton. And so that's what allows him to just shred that boss. So
Yeah,
this is going to be
you can only hurt.
It's going to be a 39, I think. No, this is Pinball Wizard, Dark.
You can only hurt the yellow one.
Yeah, you can only hurt the yellow one, the one with the blue crystals, I believe.
Don't blink.
Yeah. Also, this boss, because you're playing at the game at 60 frames per second, is considerably harder. He just shoots a lot more projectiles.
So yeah, the thing is, every time you touch him, he leaves a hole underneath him where he was standing, and
Very nice.
yeah, if you're standing on the hole, once it fully forms, you instantly die, and that's what happened to him in that first attempt.
Yep, so here we get the last book. This is why he's had the sepia filter. It goes in the monocle, and that is time. Sub 40 in a marathon run. So to give you an idea, This would be 8th place on the leaderboard, and that's with like 3 deaths and
40分きり行きました
awful
ね。
luck against Vagoyan.
いや、よかったです。
Yeah, we don't even have 10 runners with a sub 40 in this game, so getting that in a marathon is super impressive. But yeah, go and follow Xipha. He's been like just absolutely tearing this game up. I want to say he wants to go for a sub 37 just to kind of like see that next minute barrier, but he's very,
You
very
might as well,
close.
like 2 seconds away.
It's very hard to do, but yeah.
Even taking a, even from what I could tell, taking that record off of Korzik was no joke.
他にか
Exactly. Korzik had this game down. He's kind of been like the champion of like the East 1 and 2 Chronicles games. Very,
1個
very wide berth of information that he knows. A lot of stuff he knows about these games. Kind of like the person that I trust most in the community whenever I have questions about these games.
まあ通せてよかったなと思います。
Yeah. Also on the couch is Riabiri, who is currently 11th. Very good runner in his own right. Runs a whole bunch of these games. So.
Pretty much running a different one every night from whenever I log on.
It is fun.
Just added 7 to the rotation.
Yeah, it is fun having a leaderboard mod this series and just seeing some people like Rihabiri who just... Rihabiri and JP HPU are both runners who just like...
配信来ていただければテクニ
They
ック
just submit new PBs in every single game, and I'm like,
られると思いますんで
why am I being given like 6 notifications? Oh, it's JP. Oh, it's Rihabiri.
はい。
これはぜひ興味持った方は
Well,
配信の方遊び
Thank you both for your great commentary. What a really fun run. Do you have any shout outs you guys want to give?
Just shout outs to the East community. If you have any interest in any of these games, and there's dozens of them, just the Discord is on the any of the speedrun.com pages for the most part, except for the ones that I never got to, because there's like 19 different games in this series. If you count the separate versions of them. Shout out to Bram, thanks for joining me. It's good to have somebody to bounce off of.
Shout out to Xipha and Rihabiri and Korzik and GhostKumo. I said that already. And exclamation mark Tuxdev.
Shout out to Tuxdev, the progenitor of the dying to the hardest fight, the easiest fight in the game if you get super unlucky. Shout outs to the Baronade. If you have any interest in this game, Baronade has a lot of videos on strats for this game. He's the 3rd place runner of the game. And kind of, he was one of the few people who've ever actually challenged Korzik for the record for a long time.
いきますか。
Shout outs to Falcon's sound team.
これで最後に締めたいと思います。
I love the soundtracks of these games. They're super cool.
はい、ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました
Well,
Definitely
Yeah,
check out
thank you
the
both.
rest of the marathon.
Yeah, we have lots of cool runs coming up. Next, we are going to take a short break, so everyone please stay tuned. I am going to be heading off. This is my last shift here for the English Restream, so it was great hanging out with y'all. I am going to leave you in the great hands of the wonderful Cell, so please stay tuned.